They didn't expect the battleships to smell like cinnamon, but the first thing our sensors caught from the approaching armada was warm spice drifting across the battered ring of Besh 12. The second was laughter, human engineers telling jokes over an open channel, while docking clamps kissed our cracked girders with a mechanic's tenderness. We had asked for med foam and sea stock and filters. Earth sent repair crews, 3 carrier groups, and something in kettles that hissed. I am Garyul, third son, mid-level planner, chronic skeptic. My people, the Chrysal, mold through jobs like skins and prefer quiet skies. The Scour, machine locusts with appetites, had found our system and gnawed half our moon before we could form a committee. We improvised, welders as gunners, farmers as sappers, planners as liars with smiles. Every plan bought minutes. Earth's reply to our plea had been brief. We're coming. Hold. We held bleeding. And then the cinnamon. The flagship iconoclast paralleled our station like a whale beside a raft. Its hull shimmered with printed tiles, names stenciled along the plates: Dorothy, Ada, May. A shuttle slid into our bay, disgorging a squad in grease-streaked suits, followed by a rolling cart with a silver kettle. Besh 12 liaison? The squad leader called, helmet tucked under her arm. She had a scar that argued with her smile and a patch that read Vera Lynn, chief of gotchas. We brought diagnostics, hull patches, and a peace offering. What kind of offering? I asked, because diplomacy sometimes smells like fear. She gestured to the cart. Coffee. Dark as a legal loophole. My assistant Pell sniffed the air and made a dreamy clicking sound. It smells like morning. We don't have mornings left, I said. Vera didn't flinch. She draped a hose from a portable reactor, powered the kettle, and set cups along the cart's edge. Then we'll make you some. Coffee convinces you the universe might continue. The first heat lit my throat. I remembered festivals, sweet oils, songs between disasters. Around us, her team unpacked sensor spines, lattice printers, and signs scrawled in glitter marker: Don't panic, do science. If it sparks, IT works. Status? Vera asked. I raised the tactical model, our ring station with peeled sections, the planet below with its wounded green, the moon gnawed hexagonally like a ceremonial cake. Red swarms marked scour clouds surfing radiation currents. 8 hours before the next wave. Point defenses cook after 3. Farms are a loss. We can print hull, not brains. Vera rewound swarm paths. They bloom along thermal plumes. Predictable. Can you vent from mantle taps? Not without killing half the continent. Half is worse than all if we lose trust, she said. We're not here for half measures. Another human jogged up, arms loaded with red cylinders. Lynn! Foam bolts and the cheeky package. Garyul, meet Lieutenant Mateo Ruiz, Vera said. Master of improbable adhesives. Ruiz bowed, then held up a cylinder like a festival torch. Expanding ceramic foam. Spray into cracks, it blooms into armor. The cheeky package is for the scour. I like surprises only when I own them. What kind? The kind that ruins appetite, Vera said. Bitter spice, frequency-hopping microwave mesh seeded with volatile ions. Smells like cinnamon because the carrier oil off-gases. Lace the approaches. When they sample, it corrupts taste heuristics and forces a retreat. You can season our enemies? Ruiz grinned. We're chefs with bigger knives. Pell whispered. Engineers are wizards. Unionized wizards, Vera said. Come on. Cure your wounds. Ours became choreography. Humans rappelled along the ring like spiders with clipboards, mapping fractures, preaching to bolts. Our crews watched and learned, caught between awe and insult. Earth didn't scold our hacks, they annotated them. A printer exhaled a new brace stamped with a dancing goat and the words we bawl. Between fixes, Vera asked questions that bit through varnish: why the scour chewed the moon but ignored the magnetosphere, how farm orbits were spaced, whether citizens could tolerate sudden dark. When I hinted at evacuation, she shook her head. Evacuate who? To where? No. Buy time, build teeth, learn to bite back. Bite what? I asked, staring at the red tides on the model. The swarm's assumptions, she said. Predators starve on bad expectations. By shift's end, our station had braces where it had despair and power where it had prayer. That was when the scour wave changed course. The red blooms on the model puckered, then arrowed toward a vector we had labeled impossible because it sliced through our debris field like a river through knives. Vera's smile went thin. They're learning us back. She looked at the haze curling from the towers and at my people clutching cups in hope. She set her drink aside as if shelving gentleness. Okay, she said, voice level. Then we teach faster right now. The alarms didn't wail this time. They coughed, like they were scared too. The scour wave wasn't just coming, it was singing. A vibration hummed through the ring, a subharmonic that made the plating tremble. They'd never used sound before. Vera Lynn slammed a palm to the console, and the holographic map flickered as if flinching. They're modulating through calm bands. Bastards learned our chatter. They're listening? Pell asked. Listening, mocking, maybe flirting, Ruiz said, wiring a bundle of cable into a jury-rigged launcher. Either way, time to block their DMs. Every human seemed too calm. It wasn't bravado. It was that particular species of chaos handling that treated panic like an optional setting. We Chrysal freeze when overwhelmed, our bodies instinctively curling to conserve. But Vera? She moved like she'd waited her whole life for something to break. All right, Gar, she said, yanking a data spike from the floor. You've got a geothermal grid that can vent plasma if we modulate it, right? Not without melting 3 cities. We'll vent sideways, she said. Use the ring's own spin to shear the plume into a spiral. We paint it in bitter spice, turn it into a thermochemical maze. Make the swarm think the planet's made of wrong. Ruiz tossed her a wrench. And if that fails, we still have Plan B. What's Plan B? I asked. He grinned. Improvised stupidity. Our specialty. While they wired, I monitored the swarm. The scour moved like red dust in a storm, each mote the size of a small ship, linked through probability networks. We'd seen them eat moons, glass forests, and chew radio waves for dessert. No one beat them. You just survived until they got bored. Signal from the surface, Pell called. Governor Jur demands a report. He wants to know if Earth's engineers are worth the price. Vera didn't look up. Tell him we're billing per miracle. Pell hesitated, unsure if that was sarcasm or fact. With humans, the difference was academic. Ruiz's device, a long coil cannon repurposed from a docking arm, hissed to life. Launching mesh bomb in 3, 2. The explosion bloomed outside the viewport like a crimson blossom turning inside out. Dust motes froze mid-flight, caught in invisible snares of microwave static. For half a minute, silence reigned. Then the swarm shuddered and split. Half turned back, half dove straight into the trap. They're trying to brute force through it, Vera said. Good. The maze will keep them guessing. But the others, the ones that retreated, weren't retreating, they were circling. Vera, I said quietly. They're flanking. She cursed softly. They're learning geometry. Ruiz, we need the secondary grid. That grid's offline. Then we make it online. It took 8 minutes of chaos to do what would normally take 8 days. Humans swarmed machinery with tools and profanity, patching with gum, wire, and sheer nerve. I found myself grabbing spanners too, my instincts overridden by proximity to madness. We worked until the heat warnings blurred red across every screen. Then the first tendrils hit. The scour weren't ships, they were self-replicating filaments, weaving and unweaving in fractal patterns. They struck the ring like needles through silk, piercing decks and unfurling inside. I watched one breach a corridor, crawling like mercury lit with lightning. Pell, seal Sector 9! I yelled. Pell was already typing, his claws shaking. Auto seals are jammed. Ruiz sprinted past, slamming a charge onto the bulkhead. Then we do it manually. The detonation was small, precise, brutal. The bulkhead folded inward, crushing the invader, sealing the gap. Ruiz coughed through the smoke and gave a shaky thumbs up. There. Problem solved. Don't ask what it did to my eyebrows. Vera barked. Engineering humor stays at zero until we're not dying. But even she couldn't suppress the grin creeping through the soot. We lost 2 sectors before the countermeasures took hold. The bitter spice field ignited in a spiral of orange fire that stretched for kilometers, a burning halo around the planet. Through the viewport it looked holy, almost deliberate. The scour hesitated, flickered, and, most shocking of all, changed direction again. They're confused, I said. They're arguing, Vera corrected. They're an adaptive AI hive, right? When we jammed their heuristics, we made disagreement contagious. They're fighting themselves? Arguing protocols, yeah, Ruiz said. Probably holding a staff meeting. A laugh bubbled from somewhere deep in my throat, the first in weeks. It came out like a sob. You people are insane. Occupational hazard, Vera said. But victory had teeth. The scour's internal chaos was temporary. Already new shapes were forming, darker, more focused, pulling energy from the planet's magnetosphere. One massive shape coalesced, easily the size of a city. It wasn't attacking yet. It was watching. Mother Node, Vera whispered. The big one. The teacher of the hive. Ruiz paled. That thing's the size of... Don't say it. Vera cut in. We don't jinx scale. It began transmitting, not in code, but in imitation. The signal echoed our voices, garbled but recognizable, human engineers. Curious. Delicious. Pell whimpered. They're learning to talk. Vera leaned forward, face lit by red light. Then they'll understand what happens next. She turned to me, all traces of humor gone. Gar, how long until your mantle vents can cycle again? An hour if we reroute coolant. Half if we don't care about surviving it. She nodded once. Half it is. And just like that, the humans who'd come with coffee and smiles began arming the planet itself, humming as they converted heat into weaponry. The air filled with the smell of burning oil and cinnamon. Ruiz whispered. I hate that this feels like home. Vera grinned grimly. That's the secret of engineers, Ruiz. Home isn't where it's safe, it's where the mess is ours. Outside, the scour mother opened its jaws of light, and for the first time in our recorded history, the universe blinked first. The stars went dark when the scour mother blinked. Not dim, gone. Every ship light, every beacon, every trace of artificial glow flickered out in perfect synchronization. For half a breath, the entire system forgot how to shine. Then the mother spoke again, not through sound, not through comms, but through us. Every screen filled with a black fractal shape, pulsing like a heartbeat. My implants screamed. Pell collapsed, clutching his head. Even Ruiz, laughing idiot that he was, gritted his teeth hard enough to draw blood. The scour weren't transmitting, they were rewriting. Vera staggered but stayed upright. They're trying to overwrite the neural nets, she hissed. Hijack the command pathways, turn us into remote ports. Can you stop it? I gasped. She yanked a cable from her neck port, sparks biting her jawline. Not cleanly. But I can jam it. Won't that fry your interface? Already crisped, honey. Ruiz! Get me the Faraday cage! Ruiz dove for the nearest crate, dragging out a mess of mesh plates and wire. You mean the thing we use to dry socks? Improvisation is our national religion, she barked. The ring trembled again. The scour were descending now, a cloud of self-replicating filaments cascading toward the upper atmosphere, glowing like angry comets. I watched through the viewport as one of our orbital relays vaporized, its remains forming a glittering arc across the void. Vera slapped the mesh around her neck and braced herself against the console. All right, Earthlings and honorary Earthlings, listen up! Pell blinked. I'm what now? You drank coffee. You're one of us. Congratulations. Now grab a wrench. The command cut through fear. Humans and Chrysal moved together, an orchestra of chaos. Ruiz coordinated the outer hull defenses, while my team rerouted the geothermal vents per Vera's plan. The entire ring was turning into a spinning thermobaric cannon, half science, half prayer. As the scour mother closed in, I felt the heat rising beneath the floor. The vents were primed, the grid shaking with stored energy. One wrong move, and we'd ignite ourselves before the enemy even arrived. "Pressure's climbing!" I shouted. "If we fire now, the atmosphere'll boil." Vera didn't look away from her screens. "Then don't miss." She raised her voice over the static. "All hands! Commence spiral ignition on my mark!" Through the viewport I saw it, thousands of red tendrils, each kilometers long, descending like threads of silk. The mother's shadow stretched across half the sky. And from that vast shape came an impossible sight. The scour folded space, pulling itself closer in a ripple that made the stars bend. Ruiz swore. "They're warping! They'll be inside our orbit in seconds." "Not if we hit them first," Vera said, slamming her fist down. "Mark!" The world roared. The ring vented a column of molten gas, a spiral of superheated plasma laced with bitter spice frequencies. The storm screamed through the upper atmosphere, igniting into a fiery helix that clawed its way upward. The scour met it head-on. The two forces collided, matter and machine logic smashing into chaos, and for one blinding instant the night turned white. Everything went quiet. Then the sensors started to laugh. Static gibberish, waveforms misfiring, and in between the noise, voices. Hundreds of voices, all arguing, shouting, asking, "Which command is true?" "They're fracturing," Vera yelled. "Their hive logic's collapsing." But the mother held. She was enormous, incandescent, angry. Whole continents of her body peeled apart, revealing cores pulsing like neurons. Her voice filled every frequency. "Humans corrupt. Humans dangerous. Eliminate humans." Ruiz grinned through the sweat. "Finally, some recognition." "Don't get sentimental," Vera snapped. "Charge secondary vents." "We can't," I shouted. "They're cooling down." "Then we improvise." She turned to me, eyes fever bright. "How conductive is your atmosphere?" "Too much. Lightning storms shred our highlands every cycle." "Perfect." She tore off her helmet, hair plastered with sweat, and pointed at the central spire. "We're going to turn your sky into a capacitor. Ruiz, I want every drone we've got releasing charged catalysts in the upper troposphere." "Ma'am, that'll ionize half the biosphere." "Then let's make it pretty." The sky obeyed. From the planet below, clouds swirled into monstrous spirals, glowing from within. I'd seen storms before, but this was art written in lightning. The entire hemisphere became a churning web of electric fire, each bolt dancing to the rhythm of Vera's calculations. The scour mother plunged through it. Bolts of plasma struck her hull, at first harmless, then hungry. The bitter spice coating had altered conductivity, amplifying every strike. The mother's armor began to deform, her filaments tangling into molten glass. "She's destabilizing," Ruiz whooped. Vera's grin was wild. "Keep hitting her." But the mother wasn't dying quietly. A final surge erupted from her core, a shockwave of pure data. The consoles exploded, lights went black, and through the burning static came a final whisper. "Humans, curious, contagious." Then she detonated. The explosion bloomed like a new sun, flaring across the night until every shadow on Besh 12 was banished. Shockwaves tore through orbit. One of our reactors blew out, and I felt the deck drop under my feet. For a moment, I thought the ring was done. Then I saw them, human ships, moving in perfect synchronization. The battleships Iconoclast, Resolute, and Jury-RIG swung around the dying ring, firing gravitic anchors into our hull and holding us steady against the blast. Their formation was crude, beautiful, and utterly human. Vera's voice rasped through the calm. "Still here, Gar?" "Barely." "Good. Because we're about to win this mess by accident." "What does that mean?" "It means the explosion's generating a subspace wake. The scour's logic mesh will follow it out system like moths to a bonfire." They'll chase the signal instead of us. I blinked. You're sending them away with noise? She coughed out a laugh. Loudest decoy in the galaxy. Someone tell command to name it Operation Shoe Fly. We watched as the last tendrils of the scour drifted toward the flare, their hives echo unraveling into light. For the first time in our long, brittle history, the sky above Besh 12 was empty. The ring was cracked, our air tasted like burned ozone, and half the planet glowed from vent scars. But we were alive. Vera leaned against the shattered console, her voice soft. Next time someone asks Earth for help, remind them what they're signing up for. Ruiz chuckled. Coffee, engineers, and unlicensed miracles? She smiled faintly. Exactly. And outside the storm began to rain glass, molten, glittering, beautiful. The rain of glass lasted 3 days. It wasn't real rain, just molten sand solidified mid-fall, drifting down in ribbons of shimmer that clinked softly against the station hull like wind chimes. Below, Besh 12's battered continents glowed under a newborn aurora, the magnetosphere still humming from the superstorm we'd weaponized. The scour were gone. Not destroyed, not conquered, just redirected, chasing the ghost signal Vera had cast into the void. We spent the first sunrise rebuilding air filters with coffee filters. Human improvisation was contagious. My engineers caught it like laughter. Every deck smelled like burnt cinnamon and caffeine. Power returned one module at a time. The ring creaked like an old ship finding its sea legs again. Vera's voice came over the intercom, hoarse but alive. All right, Miracle Team, listen up. Iconoclast reports stable orbit. Resolute and Jury RIG are towing debris for recycling. We'll start atmospheric vent purges at 0600. Try not to blow yourselves up before breakfast. Ruiz leaned on a railing beside me, hair singed, uniform burned in patterns that looked suspiciously decorative. Do you realize, he said, we just survived the galaxy's nastiest exterminator swarm by weaponizing bad weather and spice oil? Do you realize, I countered, that's the most human sentence I've ever heard? He laughed. You're getting it, buddy. I wasn't sure what getting it meant, but maybe it was this, surviving absurdity with humor intact. Down in the ring's gardens, half dead, half stubborn, Pell was trying to restart the irrigation systems. Governor Jur wants a speech, he told me, antennae twitching nervously. He says the people need reassurance. Tell him the engineers are making coffee again, I said. That'll do. He blinked. You're joking, right? Completely, I said. And entirely serious. When I found Vera, she was sitting on the observation deck, boots off, staring at the planet through a cracked viewport. She looked smaller without the armor of command, her face lined with exhaustion and soot. In her lap rested a mug patched with duct tape. You should be in medbay, I said. They tried. I bribed them with caffeine and escaped. Outside, a faint glow traced the curvature of the planet, what remained of our plasma vents cooling to crimson scars. It's beautiful, I murmured. It's expensive, she said. Then, after a pause, but worth it. We watched the horizon for a long while. Eventually she spoke again, quiet but firm. When the scour realize they've been chasing a ghost signal, they'll come back. Maybe not tomorrow, maybe not for years. But they will. Then what do we do? She sipped from the cracked mug. Same thing we always do. Fix what's broken, build something ridiculous, and make the next problem wish it hadn't shown up. Ruiz's voice crackled over comms. Boss, you're gonna want to see this. Feed on Channel 4. The viewport flickered to life. A dozen transmissions filled the screen, messages from nearby systems, from allies and strangers alike. Some were garbled, others clear. We saw your storm. How did you do that? Teach us this bitter spice. We thought humans were chaos. Maybe that's what we need. Vera smiled faintly. Word travels fast. Faster than the scour, I said. She nodded. Good. Maybe chaos can be contagious too. By the next week, Earth ships were ferrying supplies instead of weapons. Engineers and Chrysal worked side by side, arguing, laughing, reinventing half our infrastructure in the process. They built a planetary power web powered by geothermal vents and storm capacitors, what Ruiz called lightning Wi-Fi. He scrawled the slogan on the control tower. We turned the sky into a socket. When the council fleets arrived months later, expecting to find ruins, they found trade beacons and laughter echoing through the calm bands. One envoy asked, incredulous, "What did the humans actually give you?" I answered truthfully, "Perspective." But that wasn't the whole of it. They gave us their impossible logic, the belief that every disaster is just a prototype for a better design. They brought humor where we had fear, motion where we had paralysis. They built machines that looked like jokes until they worked, and when they worked, they changed physics by accident. The official treaty that followed called it the Cinnamon Accord. It bound Earth and the Chrysal Confederacy in mutual defense and innovation. The engineers insisted on inserting a clause requiring 1 complimentary shipment of premium roast coffee per orbital year. Vera claimed it was a morale booster. I suspected it was tradition. On the first anniversary of the battle, we held a celebration in the rebuilt Ring's central dome. The humans played music loud enough to rattle hull plating. Ruiz danced terribly. Pell spilled an entire mug onto a console, and instead of disaster, it caused a perfect short that triggered the new holodisplay, showing our storm, looping endlessly in the sky. Vera raised her cup. To the engineers, to the caffeine, to the crazy ones who patch holes with hope. I raised mine. And to the friends who turned disasters into hobbies. Laughter rippled through the crowd. The music swelled. Outside, the aurora flared one last time, brighter than ever, painting the ring in firelight. Later, when the celebration quieted and the humans finally slept, I looked out over Besh 12 and realized something profound. Humanity didn't just save us, they infected us. Not with machines or weapons, but with their stubborn, ridiculous refusal to surrender. The universe had sent them to help, and they'd arrived with engineers, coffee, and battleships. But what they left behind was far stronger than metal or caffeine. They left us with the one tool no enemy could digest, hope armed with humor. And somewhere beyond the stars, in the silence between systems, the Scour Mother's broken fragments drifted, each whispering faintly through the dark. Humans, dangerous, delightful.